Chris Smith for Chris Kenny tonight. It's been an emotional week for the world. We've all grown up with the Queen as the backdrop to our progress in Australia. She's been a constant in our lives, a de facto mother or grandmother to many of us. And unlike the deaths of our family or friends, this is a deliberate, extended period of mourning. And I want to get a perspective on the process with Asha Dooley, Grace Funerals General Manager, who joins me in the studio right now. Grace, thank you very much for coming in. This period of mourning, it's gone more than a week now. It's got 3 to 4 days to come. Is this extended grieving a good thing for those who felt that they were close to the Queen?
Absolutely. I think whenever we lose someone, and in this case, you've got to remember the Queen was part of the extended, the royal family and as well as the world family in some way. When we lose someone, we want to have that time to really, express our grief and show our grief, and I think it's wonderful, and it's been such a good time for everybody.
So many mourners have commented about going into Westminster Hall expecting to see a coffin and a flag, but then they set their sights on the crown and they either break up in tears or it just means something extra special to them. Why is that, do you think?
I think the symbolism of the crown, and we can see it in our sort of everyday funerals where you do go somewhere and you'll see, a golf club or a cricket bat or something that's really important to the person. And in this case, the crown represents, her duty and her service and the life that she gave over to the people of England and the UK and the Commonwealth as well. So that symbolism is really important.
You've probably seen many cases where a congregation has gone out of their way to set up, arrange a funeral, to get to a funeral from many, many miles away. But to think that 750,000 people over these 3 days will line up for 11 to 12 hours overnight to see the Queen is just phenomenal.
It is, and I think it's a testament to her, but I think also when there's grief, we also want to come out for the family that's still living to show how much that person meant to us. So in this case, it's standing in lines for hours after hours. And in other cases, it's taking flowers to a funeral service, or it's taking a baked lasagna over to the family's house. And we can't do that for Charles and Camilla, for example, but we can stand in line for hours and hours. And it is a really poignant way for us to be able to show our grief and also to be involved. I mean, not everyone can go to the funeral. Not many people can at all. And so this is a way that people can really show what she meant to them.
I don't want to call it a festival because it's not. It's a time of mourning. But I get the feeling the lines of people together sharing stories and experiences is something that is keeping them sane in their 12 hours of lining up.
You would think so, and all of those sharings of stories is exactly what we should be doing when we're grieving, and it's exactly the way that we should we come together when we do lose someone. And in this case, you've got 70 years of collective history of her on the crown, like on the throne. So there'd be so many stories that people have, personal and from afar. I think it'd be a really nice time for people to be able to share those stories to help them with their grieving process.
And yet the modern trend seems to be for people to put in their will, don't want a funeral, don't come and pay homage to me. That must be upsetting for the family and friends left behind.
Look, we know from all of the grief research the value of funerals. We know that planning a funeral, viewing a body, going to the service, seeing a coffin, we know that that is so helpful for our grief. We know that it helps you move from one stage of grief to the next stage of grief. And when people say they don't want to have a funeral, it is really hard for their family. Now, what we're seeing today with the Queen, that is a very traditional version of funeral, which is very authentic for her and who she was and who she is. And that isn't authentic for everyone. It could be going to the golf club or to the footy stadium or, to the local art gallery to have a service or a memorial.
We need to grieve, don't we?
We have to have the ritual of funeral to grieve, and the Queen is doing it so beautifully at the moment for everybody.
Asha Dooley, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much.
From Grace Funerals, there you have it.